Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for April the 22nd, 2022. This is episode number 107. On today's show, we'll be talking about the BMW i7 xDrive 60, BMW's first all-electric 7 Series, the newly revealed Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV, and the Lexus RZ 450e has just debuted. I'm Dominic Ioni, Inside EVs forum moderator and Inside EVs editor. Joining us today is the highly accomplished Tom Moloughney, Inside EV's editor and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the postmodern maverick, Mr. Martin Lee, from the recently revamped EV News Daily podcast, which is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor joins us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Out of Spec Studios, from where they are producing ambrosial videos for a growing number of YouTube channels. Okay, so before we get going, I'd like to ask that you please subscribe to the channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button and ring that bell icon for notifications. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can also ring that bell icon for notifications. All right, so with that out of the way, welcome everybody.
Good morning.
Hello.
You'll notice Kyle isn't operating from the practically palatial studios of Out of Spec. He didn't pay the rent, so they kicked him out. And he's in his mom's basement right now.
Look at that. Look at that.
Until he figures out a way to get some more sponsors for the show. But hey, we're hanging in there with you, Kyle.
That's a practically palatial kitchen.
Yeah, thank you. No, actually, just we're about to leave to go to Los Angeles, and figured I got everything from the office last night, so I'd stay in the house today.
Nice.
One of our viewers is watching from his sugar shack, which is like where you make maple syrup up in the north. In I don't know if he's in Canada or Vermont or where, but that was one of my first jobs, like hauling stuff through the woods for a sugar operation, maple sugar. All right.
If he wants to send in some free samples, you know, just send it to care of Kyle can be our head taster, care of Practically Palatial Studios, Out of Spec. I'm sure we can do some product reviews.
I'm probably the closest to them. I don't know where they are, but if they're up in like Maine or Vermont, I think the shipping would be the least if they sent it to me.
Okay, right.
Okay, I see how it is.
Fine.
You know, I just being reasonable here.
Actually, I've got some maple sugar candies my relative sent me from Canada last winter. They're awesome to pop one in the mouth once in a while, get a taste of home.
Oh, lovely.
All right, so let's kick it off with our comment of the week, or Katwa for short. So last week, viewer Scott Berger said, Martin, you should include an NFT with that Zoe. With the Zoe. So a little context, Martin is selling his Renault Zoe. In fact, maybe it's not sold that we were talking about this morning. He's still got it. So, and I guess Scott is suggesting that Martin boosts its value by including a non-fungible token or NFT, because these things are one of the latest ways to get money for nothing. So personally, I think Martin should already be charging a premium because he's a celebrity and this is the actual car that he actually drove many places, and that has to be worth something. Am I wrong, Tom?
No, I agree. Listen, I'm the one that recommended he sign the visor last week and tack on an extra $500. So
that can be arranged. That can be arranged.
All right. So you still haven't sold a Zoe?
Yeah, no. So that went over last week to Richard at RSEV, about 20 minutes from me. He's the guy that sells a bunch of Teslas, but increasingly other stuff as well. And he has his own great YouTube channel full of challenges and things. And so he kindly said that he will put it in his fantastic little showroom there, and he's got a team of people that have made it look better than it ever did for me. So yeah, not sold quite yet. We'll be sad to see it go.
Okay. But so let's start with what we were driving this week. I understand, actually, Martin, you had a made-in-China right-hand drive Tesla Model Y.
Yeah, so because he's got the Zoe, and I had to do a couple of journeys, and my wife was working and dropping off our kids, so I borrowed his Model Y this week, and made in China. Not the LFP cell, so it's long-range all-wheel drive, but it still comes with the slider on the charging screen of daily driving and trip to 100%, which I gather, I don't know, I've never witnessed it personally, I gather isn't there on LFP Teslas. Tell me in the comments if that's right or wrong, because LFP cells like to be charged, indeed want to be charged to 100%. But I charged this one to 100% because, hey, not my car, not my battery. And it took 78 kilowatt hours. Now, I think that's too much. There must be some losses in there as well. Because I don't think the packs, the NCMA packs on these, I think they're from LG in China. I don't think they're as big as 78 kilowatt hours, certainly not usable. So maybe there's some losses there from my charger into the car, although at 7 kilowatts, there'd be pretty low losses. But either way, I haven't worked out the exact numbers. There's some quick math this morning when I fully charged it. But absolutely fantastic. Best iteration. And I think it is something that I don't do enough of because I don't drive it. I haven't got a Tesla daily driver. And I think anybody who gets paid to talk about electric cars, write about electric cars, anybody in our industry, other journalists as well, I think it's your duty to drive a Tesla for at least a week, once a month. Because so much, I haven't had a Tesla for a week-long loan, all year. I haven't had a reason to use the app in months. And so much, even when it was here, parked outside the garage on my Wi-Fi, it did an update. Now, not the very latest update where you can rearrange the icons at the bottom in the launcher bar and stuff, but the one before that. So the one that doesn't turn off cabin preconditioning if you happen to open the door because you're loading stuff in and that. All these little updates and stuff. I think it's really important that if you have an opinion on electric cars, and we get paid for our opinion on that, it's your duty to do that because as leading the way, as Tesla are in many ways, it reminded me of just how much changes. And you need to make sure you update your opinion, your knowledge. I think it's the best version of a Tesla I've ever driven. All those old cliches of which, paint quality, fit and finish, panel gaps. They did some stuff that led to them rightly being criticized. None of that was evidenced in the car I had. Wonderfully put together. Look, the downside is, for some reason, they've made it ride as stiff as hell. And I don't know.
Ask you about the ride.
I don't know why they would do that. It's worse than the Model 3. I say worse. It's harder than the Model 3 Performance. It's either a 55 or 65,000 pound car here, and at that price point, for goodness sake, just put on the options list air suspension or something, which they won't because Tesla, rationalize everything. And aren't going to add more stuff to their options list. And it's a real shame because for the driving that I do, which 95% of the time in this post-COVID world, I don't do as much commuting anymore. Look, I went to London and back. It was a 200-mile round trip. It didn't miss a beat. Utterly wonderful on decent surfaces. I popped into the UK's newest open supercharging station, opened up last week, I think it was, at Winchester, an old Honda garage.
Is that GridServe?
No, as in a Tesla supercharger. So a new bank of 12 they've got. It's opposite a Mercedes dealership, and it's great because they've literally lined up the superchargers at the very edge of the Tesla property, which lines up right against Mercedes. So someone comes in to pick up their new Merc, and it's like, oh yeah, look, there's Tesla. It's great, and I'm sure that was just a fluke of the planning. And a new bank of 12 V3s, and it was a reminder to me because I don't daily drive a Tesla. I got there with 19%. I'd preconditioned on the way there, and it still jumped up to 210, hit 225, ramped down a little bit, kilowatts, ridiculously fast. I had a wander around, made some videos, got back 10 minutes later. The car is more than full enough for me to finish my journey, and it was just a reminder of all those little things that make the Tesla experience very different to any non-Tesla, and yeah, the only downside, Model Y specifically, rear vision, it sucks. It's because of the tinted glass and how little gap you've got to look through, but that's not a China Shanghai thing, that's a Tesla Model Y thing. But otherwise, it's just the ride. That's it. It's just on the terrible road surfaces around here that have been pothole, infill, etc. It's just too much for the kind of driving that I do. It transmits everything from the road through to the cabin. And because EVs are quiet as well, so even the little rattles, which are there in every car, like just the little squeaks and rattles, you can hear them, which you wouldn't hear if there was an engine going or, it was normal. So it was frustrating because it just doesn't need to be that firm a setup. And it's not even like it drives like a really sporty car either. So yeah, that was my only letdown. Would I spend my own money on it? Well, probably not, because of the types of journey that I do, which are all around town, 30, 40 mile an hour roads, doing my chores, right? So if I had £55,000 to spend, I'd get a second-hand e-tron, second-hand EQC, a second-hand I-Pace that had a fabulous interior. And you'd look around and go, well, look at all the wonderful things I've got for my £55,000, rather than, I bought a steering wheel and a big screen. So that's what I would do. But I think that everybody should at least always have that in their lineup of cars to test drive, because it is the best Tesla I've ever driven. It's the best version of their cars I've ever driven.
Well, you make a really good point, Martin, where basically your journeys don't necessitate really the need to factor in the charging situation to your daily commuting, to your drive. A lot of people, especially here in the US, have to take long trips more often than other places. And that's where it's almost like, doesn't matter how good or bad the car is. Some people will just have to buy a Tesla because it's the easiest way to travel.
Right.
And Martin, another thing to point out, you talk about how it's a journalist's duty to, hop in a Tesla every now and then just for comparison's sake. And I don't disagree with you, but Tesla doesn't make that easy. Any of the other manufacturers, Kyle and I can make a phone call and gets dropped off in our driveway for a week to refresh our memory on the vehicle or do range tests or charging tests. Can't do that with Tesla. They're the only manufacturer that just won't
throw them anywhere.
Yeah. So, well, you have to rent them or you have to borrow them from a friend. It just makes it that much harder to do it. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it makes it harder to do it, especially if you then have to rent it on Turo. I don't know what our followers think, but auto journalists don't get paid a lot of money. And, if you're spending $150 for the day to rent a Tesla on Turo, it negates your whole
salary,
your salary for writing the review. So it makes it a lot more difficult. Certainly not saying you can't do it. Martin's an example. He got one from a friend. Kyle knows, can get a Tesla whenever he wants. Little harder for me here. I wanted to do the Model S Plaid recently, and I had to rent one for the day, and it cost over $1,000. Now, yes, it was new and it was a hot car, but if that was from any other manufacturer, I would have just gotten on the list and they would have dropped it off in my driveway like Mercedes did in EQS a couple of days ago, and I can do my reviews for it. So I agree with you, but they make it difficult.
Here in Denver, they're starting a new company. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I just had a chat with the guy who started it, and they essentially are doing EV only rental cars out of the Denver airport. So you fly in and you can grab Polestar 2, Leaf, Nero, whatever you want, Tesla Model 3, Y, and X, no S's. And he was so awesome. He's like, oh, anytime you need to borrow a brand new Tesla, we always buy the newest stuff. Just come by, take the car for however long you need. And I'm like, that's honestly a great resource. And there's other locations that can do this. Here's the thing. Auto journalists could review the cars if they want to. I don't think the cost is an excuse. They don't want to. They just want to hate Tesla, a lot of them. Some of them are very open to it, but some people have never lived with one where they just don't understand how great a Tesla can be. And look, I love other electric cars too. I'm not a Tesla fanboy. I get accused of loving and hating Tesla every day.
No, you're not a Tesla fanboy. That's for sure.
But I do think that, like, if you're, to Martin's point, if you review cars and you don't get in one every month or a month and a half or 2 months at the longest, huge disservice to I would say your credibility.
Yeah, well, that's me right there, because I have not been in a Tesla for some time now. I'd really like to get into one, but I have friends with one, but it's like a couple of years old now. So I mean, what's the point of that?
Still gets new updates. You can try the new UI, and it still operates very similarly. We just shot a video that's going up either today or tomorrow. I don't remember which. Where my friend Drew, who owns Martian Wheels, just bought a brand new 2022 Model 3 Performance. And I own a 2019. He also owns a 2020. We jumped in his new car after getting out of ours, and we're like, whoa, it's UI is everything the same, but the whole car is different and softer and less performance-y. And so that video is coming out soon. And he and I were like, well, we got to rip the suspension out of this and put some adjustable KWs on there and make it hardcore. So that'll be a fun project to cover.
Right. Hey, so you actually had a Tesla Model 3 yourself this week, performance, and you made a little video yesterday. I think put out a little video yesterday with a CCS adapter. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, basically did these two videos with Drew. So this,
Okay.
I don't know when this video is going to go up, either today or tomorrow. I got to ask Alyssa what her plan is. Yeah, we shot a video using a CCS to Tesla adapter. And Tom has spoken about this, and he's spoken about a few different adapters. In fact, just over your left shoulder, Tom, you can see one. Would you mind holding that up? So basically, this is the Electron or C-Tech adapter, right? And it's limited to 200 amps, and it's really freaking bulky. That is just like an ugly looking adapter. I'm sorry. But, as long as it gets the job done, who cares what it looks like? But that one is just not a great looking adapter. There's another adapter. I don't think I have it around here. It might be in the car. Built by this company in the Ukraine that Tom also has, that essentially allows for maximum 500 amp DC fast charging. So it lets you max out the CCS public handles, which means, well, I guess I should back up. The C-Tech adapter, my understanding is it basically does a CCS to CHAdeMO emulator and then fools the Tesla into thinking it's charging at a CHAdeMO station, which is why it's limited to a certain amperage. The other one, the Ukraine adapter, basically is this guy who lives in Kiev, I think, who can't produce them right now. So don't ask where to buy one, because you can't at the moment. As soon as you can, we'll make a video. And the dude's amazing. He sounds like the coolest guy ever. He has Martian wheels on his car in the Ukraine. I mean, it's just like an awesome guy. And basically he can't make them right now. But this is an adapter that'll go 500 amps, max out CCS, and on a Model 3Y, it's like 200 and a bit kilowatts. On Model S and X, it's just over 200 kilowatts because they're a little bit higher pack voltage. And it worked amazing, and filmed a video and basically asked our viewers, is this good? Is this bad? Do you like seeing Teslas charging here? Do you like seeing other cars charging at Tesla superchargers? And just a little bit of a controversial video. And pretty interesting topic.
Kyle, let me ask you, where did you charge? What networks did you use it on?
Yeah, only on Electrify America, and only personally have tried it on Signet Electrify America chargers.
Okay, because I had long conversation with EVgo about the adapter itself. And the funny thing is, do you remember when we had the representative guy, I forget his name, from EVgo on for the infrastructure show? I don't know if were you here, Kyle?
No,
I'm not sure. I know you missed some of them. So we had him on, and during that show, I held up that adapter. That's when I had it already back then. And after the show, he said, I'd like to talk with you about that. So I talked to them privately about this. EVgo is banning it from their network. You won't be able to use it on any EVgo station. It's going to identify it, and it won't allow you to use it.
How's it going to do that?
They have them. They bought them, and they're running their tests. And supposedly, it's going to be able to identify that it's that adapter, and it won't send power. So just so you guys know, just so the readers know, that they view it as a safety hazard because it can't lock. There's something about I think the CCS connector itself can't lock. Like, there's no way to guarantee that it's locked to the connector.
It doesn't lock.
So if you notice, the Tesla CCS adapter that they're making, that Tesla's making, it's available in South Korea now. It has a slightly different design, and I think it allows the CCS connector to be locked to the adapter. So EVgo said that it will not work on the EVgo network. I just want to let everybody know that.
I'd love to see them figure out a way to make that not work, because how would you know? There's no VIN communications. Anyway, I'd love to know how they're going to do that, because in my opinion, I don't know how they would. But also, it's kind of sketchy. It's awesome. It's like, don't pull the cable too hard. So you don't want to trip over it and break that connection and just have, electrons spill on the floor, that would suck. You'd have to mop
Right.
that up.
I mean, the chances of someone getting shocked, I think, would be pretty slim. But I think they do have some liability there. So that was Jonathan Levy that was on our show from EVgo.
And he put me in touch with his engineering team, and I talked to them briefly after it, and they're like, "Yeah, we have one already. We're like, taking it apart and doing everything." And they said, "This thing isn't safe. We're going to ban it from the. It's not going to be. We're already sending out an update to our stations so that it won't be able to use it." Yeah, that's it there. Or no, that might be the Tesla one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the Tesla one. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah. It looks very similar to that.
Okay.
Ish. I wish I had it around. Yeah, though
I have it. If you guys want to wait a minute, I'll jump and bring it bring it up. I have it right downstairs.
We'll have it on the video today. But basically, don't condone using it, but awesome that we can.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I will add one more thing to be fair to our followers. When I received mine, it didn't work. And after talking to the company, they said they have reports from other people in the U.S. that got it, that it didn't work. And it's not the fact that my car isn't supported. I have a 2021 Model 3 that's CCS adapter enabled. So as great as it is, a couple of things that we have to talk about here. You may not be able to use it on EVgo, and you may get it and it may not work. That said, you can't even order it now, because I got it before Russia invaded Ukraine, and obviously his manufacturing is interrupted now. He's not shipping international. Great guy. He makes the CCS adapter for Europe, and they've been selling them for a long time, and with high success. They work. But I unfortunately got one. That's why I haven't made a video. I've had it for like 2 months already. I haven't made a video because mine doesn't work.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Kyle. So recently you had the Rivian R1T for quite a while, and you made a bunch of videos, and they were really great. But then you had, but you also had another Rivian R1T last week, or just before that. You put out a video this week of it doing what you call the Hogback Challenge, I believe. And that's basically a test of the ADAS system, the what's ADAS again? Advanced Driver Assistance System.
Yep.
So that keeps you on the road. It's like cruise control and lane centering and all that together. And so you have tell us about this challenge anyway. First, let's set us off. Yeah. And then you also had an OT app that we'll talk about after as well.
Yeah, well, this connects with the update. So anyway, I've been doing a lot of Rivian stuff recently, still because the trucks are new. They're still a little bit mysterious to a lot of people who have put orders in. And we've just been attempting to basically remove the questions and answer everything that this very enthusiastic, customer base wants to know about their truck. So we started a new driver assistance test. No one on YouTube, no one anywhere is doing standardized driver assistance testing because it's so hard and so variable, and you need to use the systems properly. And there's no way to get a truly, same situation every time. Now, we have some things going as an advantage towards us. We have a great section of road about an hour away from the house, which is a very heavily trafficked I-70 going from Denver up into the mountains. I mean, it's just massive amounts of cars all day. So it's a heavily trafficked road that's mapped so all the systems can work on it. It also has about 1,500 feet of elevation gain, touching about 8,000 feet, 50 corners along the loop. And it's a legitimately hard challenge that Jordan and I came up with the test, and we were doing it. We were driving the Taycan back from Las Vegas last week. And we're like, no car will ever be able to do this. Like, it'll be 10 years. And then we jumped in a Volkswagen Golf, and it did it wonderfully. And then we jumped in the Rivian, and it did it really well. And then we were like, wow, is this not hard enough? Then we did a Hyundai, and it almost failed the whole thing. So
Which Hyundai?
It was a Santa Cruz, but it had highway drive assist.
Okay.
So we'll run the Ioniq too. But this is really, basically we just we had a whole bunch of cars at once, and we're like, well, let's run them all, build up a nice baseline. We've just run a Honda Civic, which is like an inexpensive baseline. And it's like, if a Civic can do it, then your car probably should be able to as well.
Right.
And the idea here is to quantify and review how good driver assistance systems are in terms of aiding the driver. This is not a driver replacement test. We're not trying to get the car, take our hands off the wheel. We just want to know how nicely does it stay in the center of the lane throughout the drive, around sharp corners, around straightaways, on over crests. And it's the same set of, challenges every single time, which it has to be, comparable. And we have a little bit of a point system, which I'm not totally thrilled with yet. We kind of have to dial in our rating system a little bit, but ran the Rivian's Driver Plus system. We did Volkswagen's Travel Assist. We did Hyundai Highway Drive Assist. We did Civic's Honda Sensing. And there's one more that I can't remember.
Autopilot?
Oh, Porsche InnoDrive. We ran the Taycan through as well.
Right.
And yeah, massive differences between each of these systems. So really good, I think, that we're doing this test, trying to use the systems properly and just kind of see how they do.
So how would you compare, say, like the InnoDrive from Porsche to the Rivian system?
Oh, totally different ethoses, not even similar. The Rivian system is one of those locked-in systems, similar to autopilot, where you engage and then you can't influence the direction of the vehicle without breaking away from its system, reposition, and then re-engaging. Okay. The InnoDrive, well, it's really active lane keeping. InnoDrive is just the adaptive cruise control portion. That it took 5 minutes just to explain how Porsche names their cruise control systems. But it's really called Porsche Adaptive Cruise Control with InnoDrive and active lane keeping. That wonderfully named system basically allows you to adjust the position of the Taycan without breaking away from the system. It's really there to assist in the background, but because it's designed really to have you there working with it, the system can just shut off, which means without warning, you'll be like, oh, I'm doing a corner. Oh, going straight. Oh. And we deduct massive points for that because I understand where automakers are going. They don't want the liability of, having the car try and complete this harder terrain. I would argue this is more dangerous. I think our audience agrees. And so we deduct massive points whenever the system just gives up without warning.
Oh, interesting.
Incidentally, I forgot to mention, I'll bring it up now. I forgot to mention in my Model Y drive, which is cameras only, right? The first day I got it, I was driving home about 7 p.m. The sun was setting. It was low in the sky down a straight 30-mile-an-hour road heading towards my house. Now, it could be a 4-lane. It's just a really old, wide road. But it's a 2-lane road. Well, a 1-lane road, really, going each direction. And there's always speed cameras and mobile vans, our favorites. And so I thought, it's not my car. I'll put the Tesla on cruise, one tap down at 30. Not even 31, 32. I'm not going to get a ticket in someone else's car. And 3 or 4 times, massive emergency stop to the point of I gave up. And that is what's causing that. Is it? And I wouldn't want my wife driving, because then I was just hovering over the accelerator. But those phantom braking events, I've never experienced anything like that in any other system. But yeah, it's a tree-lined road, lots of shadows on the ground, lots of moving shadows. I don't understand how that, of just the shadows of trees going from light to dark to light to dark, can cause at 30 miles an hour, not highway speed, 30 miles an hour, the car, but a Tesla emergency stop. Beep, 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 everything just down to like 10 miles an hour before I had a chance to slam on the accelerator. Forgot to mention it earlier, to the point of I would use it on the highway. I wouldn't use it around here, because if there was someone close to me, that is an instant rear end. And I don't know how it was so bad.
Yeah, phantom braking is sketchy. Other systems do it. I think I've had a phantom braking event in almost every system I've tested. Nothing like what people are telling me about the vision-only cars. I haven't spent enough time in the vision-only autopilot stuff. We're about to run them through the hogback next week to compare to the radar cars, to compare with a car that has FSD beta on it. We're going to do all the Tesla stuff. I don't think FSD beta works on the highway, but we have a hogback extreme that it's like if it does the main portion really well, there's like a mountain road next to it.
Okay.
And that's more just for fun and giggles than actual work.
I like that, the hogback extreme. That sounds good.
And we called it the hogback because that's the name of the mountain range that it goes through. Right. It just sounds a little redneck, but I kind of like that.
No, so
it's awesome.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of, it's going to be sounds to me like a curvy road, like like
and we're going to work
hogback
with
switchbacks.
National Instruments, who's starting to help us sort of develop some real instrumented procedures to look at actually the amount of force of torque that we need to put in and the true lane positioning and overlaying graphs. And so, this is just the start. We're just figuring out our way. We're trying to pick holes in our own testing and sharing it on YouTube because we put a video up every day. And, we'll get there to make it really nice and standardized. But I'll tell you who's not going to like it is most of the car companies, because they always shy away from talking about what their systems can and can't do. And here we are reviewing it. And so, I don't know. I think it's useful testing. So we're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was just for reference, Honda's safety sense on a $20-something thousand Civic nearly aced the thing.
Really?
Yep, did really well. And then you get into a $50,000 Hyundai and it was flummoxed.
And interesting, I had this conversation with someone recently. We were talking about the original Ioniq, Hyundai Ioniq. 28 kilowatt hour battery, really highly spec'd, seat heaters and steering for what was an old car and a very cheap car.
Get a lot of stuff in that car.
But the ADAS in that, we were saying, is as good as anything else. It's bang down the middle of the lane. The radar cruise is perfect, really gently done, and just always works, as good as AP1 in every way. And it's like, hang on a minute, this is a really old, the original Ioniq. And it, like your Civic experience, it does what you want it to do really well. No bells and whistles.
I think a lot of it is not just the system, but also the car they put the system in. That's why we run multiple cars. And so one of the reasons we grabbed the Santa Cruz, which is their small pickup truck, was to say, okay, here's a combustion small pickup truck. Let's try it against a base Ioniq 5 with HDA1, not HDA2, and see if the points are any different. Because then we can know, okay, system might be optimized to work in certain platforms and not. Someone here in the comments says HDA2 is not that good. I just talked to my dad yesterday who has HDA2 in his Ioniq 5, and he says better than autopilot. He loves it. He's like, I just drove down to Florida, had no issues. It stays bang straight in the lane. So
okay.
Everyone's got their own opinions, of course.
Is there a way that anyone else can replicate this to a reasonable accuracy, or is it always going to, if somebody wants to compare like for like, they're going to have to drive to where you live and do that challenge?
You have to be in this one spot.
Okay, so this is other creators who live near you, like the guys over at TFL, that'll be fine because they live near you. But if you want to do like for like, you got to go do the hogback, and I'm sorry, you got to make a journey. Okay, I like that though. It's cool. Like, it's a good measurement. I like it.
Hey, Kyle's commenter, a viewer asks, is there a place to see the rankings of the hogback tests?
Yeah, we have a Sheets on Google, a Google Sheets. And if you go to the description of any hogback video, there's a link and you can go through the tabs to see all the cars. And we're going to massage that spreadsheet a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer and easier to use. It's early days of this. And I don't want to become just driver assistance testing. I just want it to be, once every week, once every 2 weeks, we throw up one of these things and, similar to our range testing. We don't need to get, we don't need a new channel. No one freak out.
Oh, what a disappointment.
What? No hogback channel? Okay.
Out of spec ADAS.
Yeah.
Right.
There's your spreadsheet.
Cool.
You can actually click on that, Martin, and so you can see. But again, keep in mind, this is much more of the spreadsheet tries to objectify the challenge, but it is still very much a subjective test. So this is just supporting the data, but you still have to watch the video to see our review because this doesn't tell the full story.
I see. And you have the tabs on the bottom there. Okay.
Yeah, tab down the bottom. And then this is great, though. This is exactly.
If you scroll down, it scored a 1, which we thought nothing, like 0 is a perfect score, which means we didn't have to detract anything. We do award some points at the beginning of the test if it has, certain safety features or a capacitive wheel or eye tracking or other things. But we thought it would be like 10 years for any car to get a 0 or better. And then here comes the Rivian and just 1. It's really good. The main problem is it only works on pre-mapped highways, which is infuriating.
Right. It's like Super Cruise in that respect.
Yeah, because you don't even get basic lane centering on anywhere but pre-mapped highways. And where we live up here in northern Colorado, no pre-mapped highways really.
Right. So,
Kyle, do you have plans on? I see you have tabs on the bottom for the different vehicles, but you on the spreadsheet you would be able to put, say, the Taycan in column D and the Civic in column E. That way, people can look across and see, compare them next to each other rather than having to go on separate sheets.
We're going to do that. So that's part of what we're going to do, but we can't necessarily do it that way because we have an editor's note function at the bottom, or an editor's influence, which essentially we can detract points or award points based on a whole bunch of different criteria. And so we'll have probably the first tab on the spreadsheet will just have all of the results of the cars without the breakdown of everything.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it would just be good to be able to see them all, your scores all next to each other for each one.
We'll do that. Jordan does the spreadsheet, so he's watching, I'm sure, so he can just do that.
Right on. So you also had an OTA update on this truck that you've been using, right?
Yep. So the Rivian R1T that we had this week is owned by a friend of ours. We also took it off-roading, which was fun. I'll talk about that here in a second. That's on our out-of-spec overlanding channel. And so the over-the-air update was significant, a massive update, and I think heavily influenced by our coverage, which I think was pretty amazing. I don't think they necessarily wrote new code because of us, but they prioritized getting things out because they basically went down the list of everything we complained about in one of our podcasts and fixed everything in order.
Great.
Which was really cool. And have to say, just blown away by their team. I also talked to some engineers and their communications team. They're like, yep, that's all because of you. They just prioritized this, that, and the other. I'm like, that's really cool. That in 3 weeks, they were able to be like, okay, we're working on all these things. Here's what the audience seems to want. They went through the comments, the whole bit, and they provided the most useful ones first. So, very impressive there. It also had a new charging curve update. If you guys recall, a few weeks ago, I did a video on how the truck charges at a DC fast charging station and saw that it couldn't request more than 450 amps at the time.
Right.
We made a whole video about that. There it is. And so then we said, okay, well, this is actually a new one. Then we said, all right, the update came. It said 500 amp charging, and you'll see it. We saw a peak of 499 amps being pulled from the charger, which is about 219 kilowatt peak, something like that.
Okay.
And
respectable.
The problem with it really is just its thermals. We're not sure if it's in the battery pack or something outside of the cooling loop, but it kept overheating and getting hot and hot. And the point of our test for this particular scenario is not to look at the time it takes to charge or anything useful to the normal person rolling up to the charger. It's really to log what is the theoretical peak charging curve. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit with Tom and some BMW stuff where BMW actually publishes this data. Rivian says it should charge at something. I don't even know. And good luck figuring it out. So that leaves it on us to map out, this theoretical maximum power at any given percentage point. And what we had to do is we would charge, it would dump a ton of current in, 500 amps going in. We'd hit a temperature threshold somewhere. We'd have to unplug, drive it around, let it cool down. And we had to do this 8 times to get the theoretical peak. And so, either it needs massive cooling upgrades, either done by software, just by ramping up cooling sooner, or there's a component or a limitation somewhere that is outside of the cooling loop that's overheating that cannot be updated. We don't know what the limitation is here at the moment.
Right.
And so I would say it's not looking good for thermals on the Rivian, in my impression right now.
So you're saying something like it seems to reach a certain point, and then all the fans come on, and it starts to do all the cooling at that point, rather than having like the fans coming on like way ahead of this point.
So let's just assume that the cooling issue is inside the coolant loop. That means anything that the coolant loop touches. If that is the case, which I hope it is, because you would think any high current, high heat situation they would know of before they built the truck and would have it actively cooled. You would think that, hey, I'm plugged into a DC fast charger. I'm pulling 500 amps. This is the truck thinking. I should probably try and keep myself cool before it's too late. And what it seems to do at the moment is get right up to the threshold of where it's about to thermal throttle. And then it goes, oh my goodness, everything's hot. And then it pulls down charging. The big question is is it in the cooling loop? Because it could just be a coincidence that the fans are kicking on at that moment, but it could be a connector that's getting hot that just can't be cooled. I hope that's not the case. We just don't know.
Right. And that's got, what, a 135 kilowatt hour battery?
Yeah, gross. We've been able to pull, I think, 125 out of it in our range test.
Okay.
But it's possible there was more in there, a couple of kilowatt hours at most. And go ahead.
It still charges pretty quickly, though, right? So the 80%.
Like not stressing the cells, though. If you look at this charging curve versus a Taycan versus anything else, I mean, the C rate where you would generate your heat from is really low. Like where this thing is not stressed. Right. Its main limitation is the 500 amps that CCS can put out. And so that's the previous one. If you go to the second tab in that spreadsheet there, take a look at the red and blue lines. That's after the update. So we overlaid the data from before and after the update. And it's essentially the same charging curve. There's a 2% sway there. That's just BMS confusion. The drop should be equal. It purely is just 400 or 500 amps instead of 450 amps till it reaches top voltage and then just pulls down.
Okay. So 80% takes like how long, just off the top of my head, just for people?
I don't know, because we've never been able to achieve a perfect charging session from 0 to 80. We have to keep unplugging and plugging back in.
Right.
And so I don't think anyone in the real world could plug in at a really low state of charge. They would either be too cold or too warm and get a maximum perfect, that's why these are theoretical curves. It's a way for you in the real world to reference what could the truck handle at this state of charge and what are you getting? And if it's less, why?
Got it. All right. That's pretty cool though. So any other big features from that update that you want to mention?
Yeah, just traction management updates. And yeah, you can leave the climate control on now if someone's in the car, which is great. So lots of other stuff, which is pretty good. I made a whole video on that charging video. I run through everything.
And you took it off road. This wasn't the lake bed one. We talked about that last week, right?
Right. This is, we hit up some trails here in Colorado, some gnarly rocky trails.
Okay.
And you can take a look at that video on out of spec overlanding. We're now that the weather's getting nicer, we're ramping that channel up. And we compared it to a Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, which is like the small pickup truck, but with all the off-roady stuff. We also have a Lexus GX that we've built as an overlanding rig. And so we took all three vehicles out there, and it was really interesting to watch the Rivian basically walk its way up the rocky stuff with four motors. Actually didn't do a good job. And so had major issues in terms of software tuning, I thought, in terms of drivetrain. A lot of it comes down to driving style, too. I wasn't driving the truck. It was my friend Will. Essentially, to break it down easily, when you get a wheel up in the air, right? So you got your front right wheel in the air. The left wheel's got all the traction. This is all in this video. The truck got stuck. It could not get up a hump. We actually had to back it a little bit and get some momentum to go up. And, we're on a steep incline, but I think it also comes down to there's no locking differentials on the vehicle. It has four individual motors. So what Rivian tries to do is to target what they call a virtual locker, which means in order to simulate a virtual locker, they need to have some wheel spin somewhere. And so my opinion, after spending enough time with Hummer EV and the Rivian off-road many times now, is that virtual lockers are nowhere near as good as a true mechanical locking differential. And the reason purely is because with a mechanical locking differential, I can just go, bam, we're locked in. I can apply power. I know in that exact moment that my wheel with traction will have torque going to it. Right. With a virtual locking system, the vehicle has to say, oh my goodness, this wheel has a quarter turn of rotation, a half a turn of rotation. It needs some sort of sensor from wheel speed to then say, let me apply torque to the other side. But then how much do I apply to this side? I'm giving more and more and more. And even though they're trying to target a virtual locking situation, it's laggy and it takes time. And when you're in deep mud, when you're off the edge of a cliff, you don't want lag. You want to know when I put my foot into the throttle, I know that each wheel is going to get power. And there were a lot of comments on this that thought maybe the Rivian didn't have enough power to get up this slope from the motor that was struggling to pull the vehicle up.
No, it's got power.
It is possible. It is possible, though, at 0 RPM. You can't just dump a ton of current into a motor that's not moving. You need a little bit of speed on them. That's mostly a problem with induction motors, not permanent magnet motors, which these are. But essentially, you're going to overheat your inverter very quickly. The cooling fans were going to the moon. And basically, what I would have done was just gone wide open throttle to get up. What Will was doing was he's used to off-roading Jeeps with a mechanical locker, and he was just progressively adding more and more. And he said he probably had about 70-75% throttle in the thing, which is a lot.
That's
It's not like
heat going in. Yeah,
he wasn't babying it, and it just wouldn't move. And so basically, I think they need, this can be improved with software for sure, but it can't be completely fixed with software.
Right. Well, interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that progresses. That whole Rivian virtual and the Hummer virtual locker has the Hummer has the virtual lock on the back.
With the Hummer. I was walking behind a Hummer, and you select the rear diff lock, and then you watch one wheel spin 2 or 3 times, and then it's like, oh, I need to do something over here.
Right.
Go ahead.
At least on the Hummer, you can mechanically lock the front axles if you really need to. So at least it's got that going for it.
That's a big help. I just think a mechanical locker, probably on your primary drive axle, is the move, and in the case of the Rivian and the Hummer, would be the rear.
Interesting. All right. Hey, Tom. So you had some interesting cars this week, I think. So you put out. So let's back up. You've had the Mercedes EQS 450 Plus for a couple of days. Did you actually get a chance to drive it?
So funny. It's terrible. I got it delivered on Tuesday. I think I've driven it 25 miles in 4 days. I've just been so busy. This weekend, I'm going to have it out. Tomorrow, I'm getting up at like 5 and going to do the range test early in the morning. And then I'm charging. So this whole weekend, it's like I'm going to put like 600 miles on it on Saturday and Sunday. And I did 25 miles in the last 3 days. Yeah, that's it. Parked in front of my house there. Before we jump into that, I want to point out that John Check just reminded everyone today is free charging day on Electrify America for Earth Day. They did this last year. It started midnight last night, and it runs till midnight, or actually midnight. It started midnight Eastern. It goes till midnight Pacific tonight. So it actually would be till 3 a.m. Eastern. Totally free, complimentary charging. So fill your EVs up today on Electrify America and get some free juice. But yeah, that's the 450 Plus. Kyle had one recently, very similar builds, except the wheels I have are a little bit different.
No,
what's that?
That is our car. It had those wheels, but they made us put the Winters on it. Those wheels were sitting in the warehouse. I think they shipped it to you.
I don't think so, because I don't have Hyperscreen.
Oh,
didn't you have Hyperscreen?
Wait, it's a different. So there's only one EQS media car in the entire country without Hyperscreen. I got it. Oh, that's awesome. That's the way to go. That's so cool. Different car then, but same spec pretty much. Other than that.
Yeah. So I'm going to do the range test on Saturday, and then do some charge recordings, and the usual here should be fun. So far, so good. The little I've driven it, it drives so nicely. I mean, I had my wife in it, and she was just like, "My God, it's like we're floating on a cloud." She's used to driving the Model 3. We have a Model 3.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked a little bit before about suspensions in the Teslas. And this thing is just like floating on a cloud down the street. You don't feel anything.
It's adaptive air, right?
I don't know the exact suspension setup. I'm pretty sure that's it, but I haven't actually, to be honest with you, I've not followed the EQS that much. It's one of the EVs I haven't really really studied. So before I take it out this weekend, I've got to do my research and make sure I know what I'm talking about when I get in it. There's just so many new EVs coming out these days. Some of them I don't really dig into. So today I'm going to be doing a lot of research on it to know what I'm getting into when I drive it tomorrow.
We have some educational videos for you.
Yeah, I'll be hitting up. Don't laugh. I will be watching what Kyle did on his range tests and his charging tests, and listen, because he always adds a lot of extra content, so you learn about the cars. But I mean, honestly, we're getting new EVs thrown at us with rapid fire now, and it's hard to keep up with them. I mean, a couple of years ago, I knew every little detail about every car that hit the market way before I got it. And now, I mean, this is great. We're getting so many cars coming at us that you have to really do your research and learn about them. But I drove it a little bit. Fantastically driving car. Interior, love it. Still don't love the exterior. But as Kyle mentioned, it looks better in person. A lot of cars do that. I know we say that a lot, but it's true. Some cars just don't photograph well. I still don't love that front end. The rear I like. The side profile I think is fine. I'm just not crazy about the front, but
does this one have the full 10 degrees of rear steer?
Yes, it's standard.
Yeah, standard.
Okay. But no, some cars you have to pay extra to unlock, right?
No, only in Europe.
In Europe, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll be doing a full thing of have this Inside EV 70-mile-an-hour range test. Kyle did a range test on the one that he had. I should do a little bit better than him because he had winter tires and the larger wheels. So, if we were running right next to each other on the same day, I would have done better than him. But, there could be a slight wind, all this stuff we talk about. We do our best to control all that stuff. But what did you finish up with, Kyle? 346 or something?
No clue. Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, this is
350,
EPA
right?
range rated at 350.
It was it was so close to EPA on winters that I was like, if we had those wheels, which I should have asked for those wheels. I didn't realize they had shipped those wheels to us. And then the car, basically there was a miscommunication on the fleet side and we got the car with winter tires, but we were supposed to get it on those. It's okay. Yeah. So
I have a feeling I requested this car a while ago and Mercedes said, yeah, we'll give you one. And then one was scheduled for me like more than a month, maybe 2 months ago. And the day before I got it, Mercedes pulled it out of the fleet in this area. I don't know if there was a problem with it or if they prioritized it for somebody else, but I didn't get it. So I called and I was really complaining and they're like, okay. They asked me like, well, what do you want to do with it? And I said, number one, range test. I said, we have to get a good range test. So I think they held it purposely because they wanted it to be a little warmer here in New Jersey. Because I was requesting.
They don't know these things.
No, I don't know. And they gave me the perfect setup though too, with the right wheels and the the right tires and everything. In any event, so I mean, this is perfect for what we want. This is the setup we want to range test the 450 plus.
You got
then I just got lucky, Kyle, because as you said, they don't have many of these out there, but they got me the perfect one to do the range test on. So we'll that'll be up probably sometime next week on Inside EV's YouTube channel. So yeah,
I'm going to guess 362 miles. I'm putting that out there right now.
EPA.
It could. I think
it's going to go
see.
over the EPA. 362 miles.
It's not going to be perfect temperature here, especially because I'm starting it early. It's probably going to be in the high 40s, but then during the test, it's going to get up into the 60s. I will DC fast charge it before to warm up the battery the best I can, and we'll what it ends up with, it ends up with. I'll be disappointed if I don't do better than what Kyle did because he ran it on winter tires.
Right. What was the temperature you remember, Kyle, when you ran yours?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think it was in the 50s.
Okay. Yeah, and it wasn't freezing.
Yeah. I think
Your video.
So similar temperatures, except the fact that it's I'll be starting out early. It'll be colder, but I have a garage. It'll be in the garage overnight. I can even put the heat on at night, get the garage nice and warm, and then turn it off before I go to sleep. So the battery will, won't be in 30-degree temperatures overnight.
Yeah. Here's what I've learned about the EQS. It's got plenty of range to go wherever you need to go.
Yeah.
The thing is just a long distance monster. Doesn't charge amazingly well in comparison to some of the higher voltage cars, but you just want to go on a road trip, put on the great driver assistance system and just cruise. This is the car. But even better than this is, I know this isn't the correct podcast, is the combustion S-Class because it has a much better sound system and a much better ride.
Really better sound system?
Much better.
And better ride? I guess
this ride is fine, but it's good for cruising. But I had now that I had it back in Colorado on my loop, I was just maxing out the suspension, driving it hard. The combustion S-Class can ride smooth, if not smoother, and still crank up to the point where you're not just crashing into bump stops.
Interesting.
Kyle, how did you set the regen when you did your range test?
It doesn't
You
matter.
remember?
Yeah, because it's just a single motor, so it shouldn't make any difference how you do it.
It really doesn't. I'm just curious
I don't
because
know.
when we do these tests, we don't slow down much. It's a constant 70 miles an hour. So the regen really doesn't make that much of a difference. But I just wanted to have it on the exact same setting you had it on.
Yeah, it won't make a difference though, because even if you have it set to off, it'll do brake pedal blending because the pedal blends, and then versus just off throttle, you'll get the same regen however you want it to
I'll probably set it to auto. The auto regen where it uses the radar.
Those drive me nuts.
Really? I like them. I like that.
I think they fool you into thinking adaptive cruise control's on.
Oh,
I guess what I love about it, and I noticed on the Mercedes, when you're driving down the road, let's say I put my blinker on, and then I ease off the accelerator, it'll coast for a really long time, and then when I'm coming up to the street that I'm going to turn on, no navigation, just driving, the regen automatically slows down right perfectly enough for me to turn. So it like knows the mapping of where the street is, and it slows down in time. I thought that was awesome. It'll coast until the perfect moment to start applying the regen. So
Porsche does that. Audi does it. Volkswagen,
BMW. But I don't know. Do they do that on the turns? I know they do that following cars.
Yeah.
But I haven't tested it on the turns. Okay. With just putting your blinker on. Yeah.
Okay. So Porsche will do with blinker. Audi, you need navigation input.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There was no nav on the Mercedes. I just I didn't even realize that I did it by accident. I had it on the automatic recuperation. I'm driving down the road. I put my blinker on. I ease off the accelerator, and as I'm just about ready to touch the brake, it slowed down for me. I was like, "That's pretty cool." So,
so Tom, moving right along. I don't know if you want to talk any more about the EQS.
I haven't had a lot of experience with it. Kyle's driven a lot more than I have. Maybe next week might be a better time to chat because I'll have done all my testing with it.
So you did have an interesting little thing on your Twitter this week. So little background. So this is like a Tesla related thing. Oh, by the way, Tesla had a huge record quarter again, great results. And you can read all about that on Inside EVs.
He had to say that, Martin.
Yeah.
But at least we're not spending like an hour.
No, we're not going to spend any time
on that. Which we've done in the past, and we don't afford that to others. And so I think that's like the right amount of coverage. As I mentioned,
it's not as useful information as it used to be. But anyway, so there was like this big brouhaha about the Tesla mobile connector no longer being included in cars, which I don't know. That strikes me as a really weird decision. I mean, but. So you ran a poll on Twitter, and in your tweet you said, so Elon Musk stated usage statistics were super low, so seemed wasteful, as the reason that Tesla no longer includes the mobile connector with its vehicles. That isn't consistent with the Tesla owners that I communicate with. So Tesla owners, let us know if you used your mobile connector. And so you got results in. You got like 4,640 votes, which is a decent amount actually.
Good size pool.
Yeah.
And almost 80% said they either use it all the time or occasionally. Now I will start this whole thing off saying I don't believe. I think we're getting to a point now where a charging equipment doesn't need to be included with the purchase of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're getting close to that point. Early on with EVs, they had to do it because nobody knew how to charge cars. Nobody had any idea. So I don't mind when automakers, if they stop including them. Now, every electric vehicle up until the beginning of 2022, every single one came with some sort of a charging equipment. Kia, with the EV6, decided that they weren't going to include one. Mercedes does not include one with EQS.
Oh, really?
Now, you have to the 110 level garbage chargers, $250, but that's Mercedes. And now Tesla is no longer including it, and I'm okay with that. The problem that I had was Elon saying, usage statistics were super low. So, it's wasteful.
That's what he always says.
Bullshit.
I agree.
People use those charging cables. So many Tesla owners just install a NEMA 1450 outlet and plug it in. Why? Because it's a great unit. It's one of the best, if not the best, portable charging cables that are out there. You can't even buy one from like ChargePoint or NLX or Grizzly or anybody that makes as good a unit as that. It's a fantastic unit. I'm fine with Tesla charging for it, but you know what, Elon? Just tell it like it is. Don't say user statistics was low, because that's BS, man. People use those things. Just say, look, we're at a point now where we think it should be an option. A lot of our customers have bought 2-3 Teslas. They don't need it. They already have a charger in their garage. They have charging equipment already mounted, so there's no need to include it. But if somebody wants it, it's going to be $200, $300, whatever they want to charge. Quite honestly, they could charge more than what they're charging. The price is really fair for it. But don't give us that line that nobody uses it and that's why we're not going to include it, because that's just wrong.
I think it should be. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it being included, because you never know when you're going to actually need it sometime. It could be, especially if you're charging like $100,000 for a car, man, just throw it in there. But I mean, if you want to save a few bucks, I guess if you're selling, your Mercedes EQS, at least make it like an option, like a delete option. So you have to, you'll be aware that your car does not have this piece of equipment in case you're in a situation where you want it. That's
important at the sale process, whether it's online with Tesla or in a showroom. It has to be clear that the car's not coming with any ability to recharge it. So either do that on your own, or here's the options that we offer. You could buy this cable, you could buy this permanent charging station to install in your garage. But understand, when you pick this vehicle up, when you get home, there will be no way to charge it unless you've already taken care of that. Because as we move on to now, people that have had EVs, they're onto their second EV, they already have charging figured out. They don't need to get something free with the vehicle. I think it should be a line item, and you should pay for it if you want it. But it should be communicated to, and if high-end premium cars, Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Lucid, if they want to put something in with the vehicle, I mean, go right ahead. It's over $100,000. That could just be a perk. Like, you get a lot of extra things when you buy an expensive car. But I don't think a $30,000 EV or $27,000 EV needs to include the charging equipment when many people already have that figured out.
right. Man.
Totally disagree. Needs to be in every car. Stupid decision.
Yeah,
Really
I tend to side with Kyle. I think it's so early. I think to be deleting.
It's dumb. It's like selling an iPhone without a charging cable. Even though everyone's got iPhone charging cables, they still throw it in there. I mean, raise the price of the car. They keep doing that anyway.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is it's such an expensive purchase that it seems a strange thing to skimp on, and whether it's a $50,000 or $100,000 or $150,000 purchase, you should be researching how you're going to charge it, as you should be. Don't buy a car that's got 21-inch wheels and then after 8,000 miles go, do you know how expensive these are to buy some new tires for my car? Like, yes, you bought an expensive car. You need to do that research. So fair enough, don't put it in, but you should know how to charge your car. But as people pointed out this week in defending it, everyone's got those little charging blocks that you plug your USB cable into. Yeah, that's true. Don't put one of those in the box. I've got 400 of them somewhere in my house. But Apple still put the cable in because everything's got a USB. Hotel room TVs have got a USB in the back that you can get some emergency juice from. So still put a cable in. So I see it from both sides, really. It's not that expensive a thing as a percentage of the purchase price. You should know how you're going to charge your car. You shouldn't just get it home and be like, I'm outraged. I can't charge my car. Well, yeah, you should have done your research, shouldn't you? So you do need...
Yeah, but people don't do their research. They go...
Yeah, they should do. That's ridiculous.
People buy electric cars and bring it. They show up at charging stations. They have no idea how to do it.
Right. Well, that's 90% of people these days. But here's the thing. You're buying an expensive car, right? Let's say you don't do research. Tesla's still selling them that car. If they want a good customer experience, they should still include the cable.
It should be an option.
I got a garage full of these things.
It should be an option.
Needs one, let me know.
I mean,
I know Tesla hate the options list. They despise anything being an option unless it's an upsell, of course. Unless you can tick autopilot, or FSD. But there should be more options than just 5 or 6 colors or whatever it is. It should clearly be marked. Do you want one? Have you got one of these already? And it's how are you going to charge your car? But that is going to slow down the promise of whatever it is, buying your car in 60 seconds on your phone. And I agree with Tom, by the way. this is where Elon and Tesla don't do themselves any favors by putting out tweets like that, which is usage is super low, when it's clearly not. Say it's a chip short. Say it's chips. Like, we know the chip shortage that's killing the auto industry isn't, the entertainment processor. It's the $1 chip that makes lumbar, the electric lumbar work in passenger seats.
Do you think? I think usage probably is really low. Why do you think he's lying about that? I think that comparatively to other features in the car, if you look at how many people use the passenger seat lumbar, how many people use the heated seat function in the car, how many people use whatever it is, I bet this is one of the least used things that are available to a user to interact with. That's not an excuse to remove it. It's like a spare tire. You use it once, but isn't it nice that you have it?
Mine has the sticker on. I've never got it out of. Well, I've got it out of the boot to look, and
I used mine exclusively for like 2 years.
And I've never used it. Never used it. Doesn't mean that I don't want it or like it in the car. And interestingly, the first Zoe I bought came with one. The second Zoe I bought didn't come with one, and so I bought a third party one. And of course, I've put it in the car because the car that I'm selling is probably going to be bought by the kind of person who might not have a home charger yet, or maybe it's their second car and they want to plug it in on the 3-pin and charge it at 3 kilowatts overnight. So I stuck it in the boot. Why do I want to leave it in my garage for? You can have it. So I've got these, and so it's important for people to have them, but Tesla shouldn't remove it by just, I don't know, these things that they just bring it on themselves, don't they? It didn't need to be a bigger deal. What was really surprising, I think it was really surprising, was how hard the Tesla community were.
Right, that surprised me
on Elon Musk. Whereas I won't say names, but there is an inner circle of people that if they tweet, Elon Musk will respond to. I've talked about it before. I think it's the echo chamber that does him no. I mean, generally, in terms of the very, very wealthy people, and there's a handful of them that I've met in my life, properly wealthy, they've always surrounded themselves by people that push back. So I think they've become successful because they have grown businesses and surrounded themselves by people that challenge them. I don't think that's the case with Elon Musk. I think he has a very fragile ego, as we can see from that kid who has a little Twitter account that tracks his jet. He lost his mind about that. Like, get over it, dude. You're the richest man on the planet. It's fine. No one's after you. It's okay. Don't be paranoid. But I think he's got a very fragile ego, and I worry because you can see the kind of people that he communicates with on Twitter that he's in an echo chamber. And those people were the ones this week going, Elon, no, that's wrong. Like, don't just do it. Yes or no, or make it an option. And I was really surprised at how
surprised to see that pushback. Yeah,
the hardcore went. They hadn't read that week's memo. They went against him. They will be punished.
But we don't want to spend a whole lot more time on this, though.
I like poking those people. It's fine.
Right.
Can we poke them some more?
But we got like 3 new cars that came out this weekend. We got like half an hour left, so or less even. So let's talk about.
Yeah, but one of them is we shouldn't really be talking about anyway.
What is it?
Okay.
Well, what's the one we shouldn't talk about?
The Lexus.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Can I talk about that for a half a second?
Yeah.
So I'm going to drive its brother. So we couldn't make it.
Right.
We couldn't make it to the BZ4X first drive thing. We just had scheduling conflicts. But Dominic, did you go to that? Did you drive it there?
I did not. No, we believe John Volker did that for us. Yes.
So I haven't driven BZ4X or anything like that yet. I've only basically gave it a very strongly not great review at an auto show in front of all the Toyota executive people. I was like, this is really not smart. And so now they said, hey, do you want one for the weekend? Well, I said, hey, we really need one for the weekend.
Yeah,
and they said, sure. So I get to do BZ4X. That's where I'm going to now, right after this. Okay. And since we're in LA, I also said, hey, do you have a Mirai laying around? I'm going to go see how a hydrogen fueling station situation works. Maybe a road trip race. We'll see.
Right.
That'll be cool.
But okay, we'll get to the Lexus in a minute. But I wanted to kick this off with the news from Mercedes this week. So the Mercedes EQS has been revealed in its SUV flavor, and this might be the EQS, I think, to get. It doesn't have quite the range of performance of the sedan, but it has more utility, and I think it wears the styling like much better than the sedan, like in my opinion. The sedan is, the SUV is 7.9 inches taller and 3.7 inches shorter, but it has the same 126.4 inch or wheelbase, or that's 3,210 millimeters for metric peoples. It comes in either 5 or 7 seat configurations, so definitely handier for families. Range is said to be up to 660 kilometers. That's 410 miles WLTP in the 450 plus trim. That's like similar to the car that Tom has this week, the 450 plus rear-wheel drive. The rear-wheel drive version gets 360 horsepower, 419 pound-feet of torque. The sedan is rated for 350 miles by the EPA, so this might get rated for less. We haven't seen those numbers yet. The 580 4MATIC, that's the all-wheel drive version of this. That will put out 523 horsepower and 631 pound-feet of torque. We don't have any performance figures yet, so no 0 to 60, but like I said, it's probably going to be just a tad slower than the EQS sedan. The sedan has a 107.8 kilowatt hour battery, so we have to imagine this gets the same peak charging power is 200 kilowatts. So Kyle, this should charge at about the same as the regular EQS. Do you want to remind us about how fast you can get to 80% in that?
I don't know how fast you get to 80% because I'm not sure that's anyway. 200 kilowatt peak. It does 500 amps at whatever pack voltage is. I got to spend some time with this car and got to go off-roading with it, did some track stuff with it, with the EQS SUV. Got to see it in person before I could post any pictures of it to anyone. And it is so much better than the sedan in almost all of the ways. And I think is by far the one to get. And your seating position isn't so weird. So the problem in the EQS sedan is the seat can go nice and low. Great. Yeah. But then you have this massively tall dashboard that you can't even see over. In the SUV, maybe Tom has more issues than I do seeing over.
I feel like a little kid. I'm like this, and the dashboard's up here. I can't see the hood at all. I'm afraid I'm going to hit stuff. Yeah, and I just thought I didn't adjust the seat right, but I haven't driven it enough. But that's it. Yeah, it's
I actually recall raising seat up in the sedan myself.
You don't have this issue in the SUV. SUV is still insanely fast. Really cool 6-pole motor, so you don't get torque ripple, no cogging at low speed. It's really good. All around fantastic car, SUV.
I'm excited about this one. And it has a rear steer like the regular one.
Yeah, I think it's just a hair is it 9 degrees?
No,
maybe
10 degrees.
Something else. It's 10.
Yeah.
I was sorry. I was thinking the AMG 53 on the EQS gets 9 degrees instead of 10.
Have you seen that
with rear wheel steering? Yeah, I've driven the AMG version. And,
the SUV?
No. I'm sorry. I was talking sedan.
Oh, sorry.
They will have an AMG version of this.
Look at that back seat, man. That's
sure.
Yeah, that's
that interior just looks like I don't know. It's like the same, but
same.
It looks comfier. I don't know.
No, it's the same seats. Everything honestly is identical. I got to go to the factory. I watched the production line. It was really interesting. They have these running right alongside of GLEs, which is sort of the combustion SUV. They can do a mix all the way up to 100% electric and anything in between.
Nice. Remind us where this is, the factory?
In Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Ooh, Tuscaloosa.
For the world. They're building them all in Alabama.
Wow. Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. It's all coming back to me now, that whole trip.
Yep.
I hope the cell phone charging pad is in a better location. Kyle, how about where the
you gotta push it all the way in?
I can't even get my hand in there.
Right.
It's horrible.
Wireless charging's dumb in cars anyway because it overheats your phone instantly.
Yeah.
But you got to set your phone to 80%.
It's so difficult to get your phone in. I have a big phone, the Pixel 6, and it's like I can't even get it in there and get it out without removing the cup holder. It's horrible design.
I don't think I had that experience with iPhone, but I definitely remember it being in an awkward location.
Did you have the cup holder, snap-in cup holder there?
I don't think so.
Because the cup holder snaps in and removes. When it's in place, you can't get your hand in there to get the cell phone in and out. You have to remove it to put your phone in and out. It's terrible.
Tom, you should just put out a video on Mercedes wireless charging is garbage, and everyone think it'll be about charging the car.
You're
just about the
you're
phone
right.
charge.
It'll be a clickbait title.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. EQS SUV, everything good from the sedan, just better in all the ways.
Awesome. You heard it here. You had it off-road. How was it off-road?
It was awesome. Silent, way quieter than a Rivian off-road.
Okay.
When you off-road a Rivian, all you hear is the silly pedestrian warning sound.
Oh, geez.
And it's so loud. And in the EQS, we just heard the crushing of leaves.
The crushing of leaves.
Yeah,
were you in like a sandy? It was like, I don't know where you, like it was all like sand, like desert looking.
Nope.
No. Okay.
This was like in the woods in Alabama.
Okay. It was.
Yeah.
I know what I'm thinking of. Anyway.
We went on like the preview program, which is before they took the cladding off. So we got to see it without the cladding, but we could only film it with it on and talk about it with it on. But there was also another program that was in the Arctic somewhere in northern Sweden.
Oh, okay.
So the Euro people did the Arctic thing, and we did the Tuscaloosa thing.
Right on. Any questions about it, Tom? EQS?
No, I think it looks great, especially the front end. I think that looks really good.
Yeah. I'm surprised. This is like the EQS to get, I think. Yeah, definitely.
At least here in the U.S.
Right.
Why just the U.S.?
Because they don't buy big SUVs in Europe as much.
Yes, they do now.
Yeah. They're starting to, I think. Yeah.
You know what's weird is
bad
the EQS
habits.
actually looks good in Germany, but then you see it here and you're like, oh, that's bad.
Really?
Maybe it's just a cultural thing. It just blends in with the environment better. But like you see an EQS just cruising down the highway. We saw tons of them in testing when we were there. And we're like, wow, that looks very German. I get why it looks like that. And then you see one here in Colorado and you go, oh my God, get that off our street.
Interesting. So, okay. I don't want to spend much. Yeah, let's move on to this next thing. All right. I did want to say, so the market launch for this EQS SUV is the second half of this year, 2022. Just quickly, competitors, Tesla Model X, BMW iX, what would you take over this?
Or e-tron?
Or e-tron's even cheaper, though. This is...
No, it's on the same quality level.
Okay.
Yep. For me, iX.
iX over the EQS SUV. So I was wondering about that.
More sporty. It does what I want it to do. But for my mom, EQS SUV, or honestly, probably EQE SUV when that comes. And by the way, on the production line, I don't think they were prototypes going down. These things were cranking out.
Wow. Yeah, they'll be cranking. The second half of that's they'll be making them now. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I was there a month ago, right? And they were just like EQS SUV, EQS SUV, EQS SUV. Oh, GLE, EQS SUV.
They're going to be popular.
Good. That's good. Yeah, awesome. So what would you? So you would take the BMW iX over this? This has more room though. You get 7-seat configuration, so that's like a plus for some people.
Yeah, but the people in the back didn't pay for the car, so we'll throw them in the roof box.
Tom, any competitors stick out to you that you think you'd rather have?
Well, I've said this before, especially after I drove the iX for a while. I'm in Kyle's camp. I love the iX. I think it's fantastic. If I had $90,000-$100,000 to spend on an SUV, the all electric SUV, that's what I'm getting today. Over everything, over Model X, over everything. I haven't driven the EQS SUV yet, but I think the iX is fantastic. Is the front? Do I love the way the front looks? Not really, but you know what? When I'm driving it, I can't see the front of the car, so I'm okay with that.
Right on. All right. So the other really big bit of product news this week is the 2023 BMW i7. The German automaker has launched a combustion version, a plug-in hybrid version, and an all-electric version of the brand's largest sedan, the 7 Series. It looks like it may be somewhat polarizing, like a lot of BMW product recently. But even if you don't like the exterior, the interior is pretty special, I think. We can talk about the design later, but let's get some numbers out of the way. This is built on the flexible cluster architecture, or the CLAR platform, CLAR. It's dual motor all-wheel drive with 536 horsepower and 549 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is 4.56 sorry, 4.5 seconds in the X-Drive 60 trim, and it tops out at 149 miles an hour. If that's not spicy enough for you, there's likely to be an M performance version in the works. It has a 107.8 kilowatt hour battery with a 101.7 kilowatt hour usable. They estimate it will have a 300 mile EPA range. So, Tom, you saw this thing in person. You were in our video on the site introducing it. Can you tell us your impression of it in person? Is this an EQS killer? It looks very premium. Also, tell us about the charging. I believe this is similar to the iX, but not quite the same.
Yeah. So, I mean, isn't it EQS killer? No. Is it a competitor? No. Absolutely. You know, it depends on what flavor you like. But I think BMW fans are going to like it personally. And I think it wears that oversized front grille better than some of the other cars. You know, I think the nose is so big that it kind of, you know, even though the grille is huge, it fits in more. Look at the height of that front. You know, it's the nose is very tall from the bottom to the top, and it has new design language for the lights. As you can see, they're broken up into two sections. Those aren't the headlights on the top. Those are like driving lights, turn signals. The headlights are below in that dark section.
Right.
So yeah, it's totally different look up front. The inside was absolutely, you know, totally, you know, top of the line, premium, high class. There's that 31-inch screen that's optional, the BMW theater screen in the rear that has 8K resolution, comes standard with the Amazon Fire. All it has digital touch pads built into the rear doors for the drivers, for the rear passengers to operate that screen and also control their HVAC and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was nifty. I like those.
Yeah, really
gallery.
Nice. Really nice. Pricing is pretty consistent with what you'd expect for the 7 Series. It costs a little bit more than its gas counterparts, but it is a little bit less than the EQS. And you know, I think you know, I think they did a nice job with it.
Kyle, any thoughts?
Yeah, got to sit in it, play around with it. Thought it was really an interesting car. They definitely are designing. What was that?
You got to see it too. You're at the New York Auto Show?
No, I can't say. Anyway,
okay.
So no, got to play around with it. Thought it was interesting. Obviously, couldn't talk about it, but the thing is definitely built for China. They've
it's got
the 7 Series. BMW said, who's buying our luxury sedans?
Yep.
They said China, and then they didn't tell me this. This is just my prediction. And they said, let's build a car for them. Personally, I think it doesn't look as terrible as it could. I agree with Tom. I think it wears the big grille best out of the bunch, other than maybe the 4 Series. Definitely think it's better than the iX. Look, we all hated the Bangle Butt 7 Series, the E63 generation, was it? Something like that. You know, with the really ugly back end, early 2000s. And now guess what? That's coming back in. I think maybe Chris Spangle was right. Maybe the designer on this car was right. And maybe that's the direction. But I will say it's just for China. Like that's who they built it for.
It's got the huge back seat with the reclining, the kick leg.
No one will option that in the US. So it'll be like 1 in every 200 cars will have the theater screen, the reclining thing. That's really an overseas option.
Right.
But I got to experience the full theater. The crazy 4D sound system sounds incredible. Okay. The screen came down. I don't know, Tom, did they put on their like demo thing for the screen that like shakes the whole car? It's amazing.
So no, they didn't. Well, they might have, but here's the thing. I was at the first showing event in New York City. It was packed. There was like 150 people. You couldn't get any alone time with the car, and people were fighting to get in it to watch that theater. And I was like, I just stayed in the background, and I wasn't going to elbow people to get in just to see the 8K theater play. So no, I didn't get a chance to really experience perhaps like you did, because it was just at this packed event. I had to wait till the event was completely over to shoot that. And as you could see, there's people in it reviewing it while I'm there. You weren't allowed to have any alone time where they just reserved, just for you. So it was challenging. We did the best we could. And I waited till 90% of the people left just to get a clean picture. And I couldn't even get somebody to not sit in the car while I do it. So
they also
it was
had
easy. It wasn't an easy event to record at.
They also had the new X7 there, and someone said they're worried that this design will trickle down to the 5 Series. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The 7 Series is always first, and that's where they preview all the stuff that's going to come over the next 10 years of that chassis, being adapted for the lower models. So if BMW made a conscious decision to, they know how to make beautiful cars. This is not one of them. I'm not saying it looks good. I really genuinely don't think it does.
It's got this like Rolls Royce error. I think about it. It feels
absolutely.
They own Rolls.
Right. But it's some of that styling language, like it's right there, and it's like the chrome bits too.
It is. It's the flat front. It's the bonnet that does that, and then it's that body line that runs all the way along.
Yep.
To the very end. That's why it looks Rolls.
Yeah.
Right.
And it definitely had that feel, even on the inside. I think BMW is just trying to go up, and now they're getting to that range of, getting close to Rolls and Bentley with it. But, I think BMW customers that, loyal BMW customers that have a 7 Series, they're going to go for it. It's interesting that it doesn't have any type of frunk. Now, I know that's because, at least what BMW tells us, because of that, it's on the cluster architecture, and under the hood has all the most of the components that you would normally have there. I mean, it doesn't have an engine, but look at how long that hood is in that side profile. It's hard to imagine that they couldn't reserve some space for some, storage up front. And I know a lot of the people that were there, the journalists, were really hammering.
Oh, journalists in front trunks. They always like them.
They were hammering the product managers at BMW, like, look at this. And they were like stretching their arms, like, look at how long this trunk is. How come there's no storage up here? And they just they were just, it's built on the same the same manufacturing line as the plug-in hybrid and the internal combustion. And they just couldn't give a good answer as to why they didn't.
You know what? I think it is. It is the least dignified thing to get out of a car and open the front trunk to pull something out of it.
Right.
You open the back of a 7 Series, that's legit.
Right. I mean, opening the hood is like you have car problems.
It just gives the wrong image. And so I'm not even mad that it doesn't have a front trunk.
That's a good shout.
Getting out.
Because you're never in that car, you're never touching it anyway, because it will raise and lower by itself.
Yeah.
And so, whereas the front, that's not going to have a powered hood, and so you're going to be lifting. You're going to be lifting it out, and it's
the Rivian's got a power hood. Why couldn't this?
It's a good shout. Yeah.
Hey, we got to move on. We're really low on time, but we have
really quickly. Yeah, Dominic, you wanted to talk about the charging curve really quickly. I talked to BMW product manager about the charging curve. It uses the same cells as the iX, not as the i4. The i4 has low pack height cells to keep it really low down to the ground. So it's basically a modified version of the iX's battery pack. It has a slightly smaller battery pack. The iX is 111 kilowatt hour. The i7 is 107.8. But what BMW told me is it has basically the same charging curve as the iX, except you see how it reaches the peak of 195, and then you see how smooth it goes down. Yeah. Now with the iX, it had more of a jagged, where it drops sharply, hold that charge rate for a little bit, drop shortly again, almost like stairs. And the product managers, knowing that I talk a lot about charging, came to me with this and said, you're going to notice the charging curve is a lot smoother than what you get with the iX.
That's iX on the screen.
And that's the iX charging curve that Martin just put up there for those watching on YouTube. And you could see the i7s was much smoother. Now, what's that going to do? It's going to make it charge slightly quicker, not that much quicker, a couple of minutes, maybe quicker from 10% to 80%. But I like the fact that they are working to improve. And I like the fact that BMW puts this out. And you see on to the left of the charging curve, they also show the recuperation, the regen, the amount of power, how many kilowatt it pumps back into the battery. Nobody does this. None of the other manufacturers give us this data and show us charging curves. Audi showed us the charging curve of the e-tron because they were so proud of it. So they
could just draw a straight line.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, if that's what you got, you pull it out. But
I mean, it's still pretty weak compared to other competition. It's not like this is winning in any charging metrics.
Not at all. But and that makes it even better, Kyle. that they said, look, here's what we do. You know, Audi put out what they had because it was so great, such a great charging curve. This isn't the best charging curve, but BMW is still saying we think our customers should know, and they're publishing it. So I give them a lot of credit for doing that.
Yeah.
Good.
Now I don't have to waste 6 hours at night in the middle of Denver at 3 o'clock.
Exactly. This is.
I think you still will.
Well, you still have to, because you have to see
will.
how close it is into real life. So there was a third vehicle revealed this week. We mentioned earlier. So say hello to the 2023 Lexus RZ 450e, or goodbye if you.
Thanks for watching. We've got to go.
Let's try not to say that, but. So note that this is similar in some ways to the BZ4X from Toyota and the Subaru Solterra. It's built on the same ETNGA platform, but it's got its own different body panels than those two vehicles, which are almost identical, really. So this has its very own unique personality. It's got two-tone paint too. I don't think it's doing it any favors, but it's got two-tone paint in both of the pictures that we've seen in the gallery on the Inside EV's website.
It's like the i3, the black bonnet, black hood.
Except in all the worst ways.
Yeah, I think the i3 pulled it off a little bit better. I don't know. I don't want to get totally down on just the aesthetics of it, because it might speak to some people.
Oh, because it's got all the mechanicals to hold it up, right?
Let's talk about some mechanicals.
That was pretty quick.
It does get more power than the BZ Terra. Those are limited to 215 horsepower in the all-wheel drive versions. This gets 308 horsepower, so it should be quicker than the BZ Terra, which is like 0 to 60 in I think 6.5 seconds with a tailwind. The battery is a 71.4 kilowatt hour, which is the same as the BZ4X, and Lexus says it can do 225 miles on a charge. That's a smidge less than 228 on the BZ4X, and a smidge more than the 222 miles on the Subaru Solterra. They have batteries from slightly different suppliers, so slightly different ranges. It's got a couple of unique features that the other two don't have. The RZ450e gets a dimmable panoramic roof, which can turn opaque in an instant, I guess. It's got radiant infrared heaters positioned at knee level in the front for, I guess, more efficient heating in the cabin. And it gets Lexus's Direct 4 intelligent traction system it uses the brand's proprietary e-axles, which I guess is why it gets more power. It doesn't use the same motors as the BZ4X and Solterra, which is an odd decision to me, but okay. It also gets the more traditional driver's screen, so the interior is different than those other two cars. It's actually quite a bit nicer. I mean, some people, I think, Kyle, you didn't really like the interior of the driver's console in the BZ4X and Solterra.
Do you think this is better?
Well, it's more traditional.
No,
and as you
it's more. Did you just look at that picture and say it's more traditional?
I'm getting to that, but that's an option. So I was going to say it's optional. Has a yoke steering wheel if you still feel the need for some weirdness, right? So coming to showrooms in Q4 of 2022, BZ4X starts at 42,000, so this might be in the 50,000 neighborhood. I don't know. So Kyle, I don't know if I even dare ask you what you think about this. Really,
that's fine. What do I really think?
Yeah,
I think that they will probably sell every single one they can make. My guess is it'll be relatively low volume production, and I will shield my eyes every time one goes by, just like all new Lexi. The only good-looking modern Lexus right now, I actually like the LX. I think it looks pretty good, and the LC. But the LC looks awesome. Their V8 sports car. I'm about that. That's cool. Yeah. But their whole design language, from the UX to the NX to the RX, it's all this. It's no surprise. It's not a great-looking car. Guess what? People still buy them, and I think that this is going to be the ultimate retirement Florida community electric car.
Wait, that's the RZ450? Okay. I thought we only had pictures of it in two-tone for some reason, but there's.
Yeah, it looks better without the black roof.
Yeah, must have added.
Yeah, this is much better in a solid color. Oh my god!
And better than BZ4X, and better than the Solterra, because it doesn't have the weird panels on the side.
Yeah, I don't know why they would
I will
launch it with-
say, spending time with BZ4X, it kind of grew on me in the sense where I was at least holding in my sickness. So when I was around it, but I'm not a style guy. It's all about how does it drive. That's what determines if this thing has its own proprietary e-axle. We know Lexus can build some amazing handling vehicles.
Right.
They have proven to us they can build a stellar vehicle, and so let's hope they put in the effort on this one.
Oh, man. So yeah, I kind of like it's like $50,000. I know I'm like Nissan Ariya is looking much better all of a sudden.
Wait, where did the 50 come from? Is that
that's just a guess. It's like
it's going to be more.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, man, but then in solid color, it looks like so much better. It's like, okay.
This brings in the Ariya conversation, but like ignoring what everyone else is doing. Look at Ioniq 5, look at EV6, look at GV60. Sure. These cars are smoking everyone, and everyone's just sitting in their own little corner. Oh, I'm comparing this to the ID4 and the Ariya. And these cars are legit and serious that are coming out. And if you're not building a legit and serious EV, good luck.
Right. Yeah. I think they have their work cut out for them, and it'll be interesting to see the reception that it gets. Like you said, they'll probably build as many or sell as many as they can build, but maybe they won't build that many. I don't know.
That's my guess.
Yeah. I'm going to be able to provide driving impressions on next week's show.
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
Well,
have you already driven it, or you're going to drive it now?
I'm going to drive it.
Awesome. Yeah. So then
we'll have where? Spain, right? Back to Spain.
We'll have Spain trips in 3 weeks.
Oh, Tom. Oh, man.
Yeah, no surprise. Not expected and get invited after my glowing review of the BZ4X.
So next week we'll have impressions of the BZ4X driving experience, which I'm looking forward to, and also the RZ450E, which
I'm not sure if it's embargoed. I don't think it is. I haven't checked my email, so I should be able to talk about it Friday, but it might be an embargo.
And I'll be at Fully Charged live and on the Friday, so I won't be in my cave. I'll be walking around a field full of EVs somewhere.
Oh,
hopefully.
That's next week?
Yeah, that's next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So hopefully I'll be there before the gates open because we're going to shoot something.
Where is it?
It's at Farnborough, just outside London.
If I fly into London, can you pick me up?
Yeah, of course. 3 days. Yeah, 3 days of they got, they're test driving. I think everything is there. I think BMW are the only ones that they weren't there last year, and it's weird because their headquarters are within walking distance of the venue, which is crazy that nobody even on their lunch break went out and walked around Fully Charged. But maybe there's politics going on that I don't understand, or marketing budgets or whatever. But I think come. I think everything is there. It's going to be 3 days of EVs. Come over and stuff on stage, and it's going to be brilliant. And you can test drive all of the cars as well. So that they have there, you just book in and drive them. So I'll be walking around. I'll be on the show. I won't be able to push the buttons, but if you're any of our UK viewers or listeners, come and say hello. I mean, look for the red-headed guy wearing the branded clothing and tap me on the shoulder and say hello.
If you go, Kyle, you can drive Martin's MG.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to make some videos with Martin.
Well, hey, I saw my friend Richard earlier, and because he's gradually collecting for someone who sells cars, he's collecting a lot of them, and he said, "Oh, I've really got to sell the Twizy," and I said, "Oh, don't tell me that, Richard."
Wait! Can we find a way to import that? So I've been thinking about trying to set as like a manufacturing reverse engineering company, like through the US, whatever, so that we can import cars from Europe for a period of time.
Well, look, if I put a Twizy in a shipping container and send it to you, I mean, how do they know what's inside it? So,
other than all of YouTube.
Well, apart from that, US Customs don't watch this.
Yeah, if you work for the US federal government, please click away.
So I'm like, well, maybe I could buy that and send it to Carl. I know it'd be a great present. So anyway.
Okay, well, I'm actually probably going to come. I mean, so I didn't know what's going on.
Bring someone. Get on a plane.
Okay. Yeah. That brings us pretty much to the end of our show. We're a little over our time, and I didn't even get to mention the Lincoln Star concept, which is like a concept vehicle, but it looks like fabulous. So if you haven't seen that yet, go to Inside EVs, search for Lincoln Star, and check that out because it's.
Wait, you mean their minivan thing?
It's No, though that's the Audi Urban Sphere.
Oh, I'm getting
No.
all the concepts mixed up.
No, I mean, I didn't think it was very minivan looking. But it's got this pop out front kind of thing going on. Little stuff that won't happen in production, but just as a concept, it looks like super great. It's got the yacht floors in it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Lincoln comes up with an SUV.
They have the biggest potential out of any American automaker to make luxury EVs awesome.
Yeah, I mean Cadillac. We'll see.
Yeah, but I think Lincoln's got the better chance.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We'll see.
All right. So that brings us to the end of today's show. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on the Inside EVs forum podcast thread or on our YouTube or Twitch comments sections. Oh, I just want to mention too, Inside EVs forum. We had a separate forum for Rivian called Rivian Chat, and it didn't really take off. Other Rivian forums did really well. So we've just folded that back into our regular Inside EVs forum. So if you want to talk about Rivian stuff on the Inside EVs forum, it's all in one place now again. So that's that. Yeah, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on YouTube. Don't forget you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Follow Tom Logney at Tomlog, that's with 2 M's. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Kyle Connor is at It's Kyle Connor. And I'm at Dominic_Y. Click subscribe and tap that bell icon for notifications. And we'll see you all again next week. Ciao.